CMA CGM Group, a global player in sea, land, air logistics and media solutions. It's the world's third largest shipping company, serving more than 420 ports across 5 continents with a fleet of over 650 vessels. In 2024, CMA CGM carried over 23 million TEU, and its subsidiary Seaville Logistics is one of the world's top 5 players, operates at 1,000 warehouses and handled 15 million shipments in 2024. CMA CGM Air Cargo, the group's air freight division, will operate a fleet of 6 cargo aircraft by 2025. And we're delighted to have in the studio today Monsieur Patrice Bergamini, who is a diplomatic advisor to Rodolfo Sade, who's the chairman and CEO of CMA CGM Group and a member of the executive committee of CMA CGM. Patrice is a French career diplomat and former European Union ambassador. He joined CMA CGM Group in summer. In 1975, he joined the Quai d'Orsay ex-Yugoslav task force, where he served from the Dayton peace agreements to international action against the Milosevic regime. And in 1999, he was appointed first secretary to the French embassy in Rome. In 2001, he joined the cabinet of the first European chief diplomat, Javier Solana, in Brussels. And in 2003, he was part of the group of experts that drafted the very first European Union security strategy. He also participated in the nuclear negotiations with Iran and in the quartet discussions for the Middle East peace process. And in 2006, he was appointed Deputy Director of the Cabinet of Javier Solana. And in 2009, he worked with the European Counter-Terrorism Coordinator. Patrice, welcome to London Interviews. It's a delight to have you here and an honor to have you here. I hope I summed you up correctly there in the preamble.
Thank you so much. Well, when I was listening to you, I was not expecting that you will read my biography. It sounds a bit like an obituary, you know. You think that, when in fact, I have the feeling, yes, I have 30 years of diplomatic career behind me. But what matters to me today that this is an amazing job and it is a wonderful company, a wonderful job in an amazing company working with, shipping and logistics since more than 5 years now. And I have the privilege to work for the chairman himself and CEO Rodolfo Sade since I started, in fact, at the beginning of the pandemic, when I was finishing my diplomatic tour, my ambassadorship in Tunisia, in North Africa. And it was discovery for me, joining private sector. As you said, I was dealing with security issues, or counterterrorism issues. So embracing a new challenge, I wanted that, a reset, embracing a new challenge. And what best than the shipping industry, which is a strategic industry. Every day we are discovering that, and what an amazing trajectory for CMA CGM since 5 years, and all that ahead of the London Shipping Week next week.
Exactly, and we're so delighted and honoured to have yourself coming over and the support of CMA CGM, and indeed we've got the French flag as well, and we've got an excellent reception next week at the French embassy, which we're really looking forward to. Touching on looking at the sort of shipping industry at the moment, there's a lot happening within industry. It's having to deal with a lot of issues, whether it's geopolitics, whether it's innovation, whether it's decarbonisation, what have you. Now, when you have a major player like CMA CGM with so many fingers and so many pies, you are involved in global trade. You are a global trade operator. You are moving containers. You are helping and propelling world trade as a company. What's your vision? What sort of drives that? What drives the strategy? What's at the top of your list of priorities, would you say, Patrice? Because there's a lot there that you have to take on board.
Under the leadership of the chairman, CEO Rodolfo Sade, we are every day focusing on the 3 main challenges, which are challenges for industry, which is a strategic industry, I think, supply chain, shipping and logistics, but also nowadays for other industries and European countries and much far beyond. First one is geopolitics. The second one, as you said, is climate change and our responsibility and commitment to decarbonize and to be neutral zero by 2050. And the third is innovation, to embrace, absorb and take advantage of all the innovation, all the new technologies. If we look at geopolitics, this is the first challenge. Basically, we don't do politics. We work with geopolitics, which is totally different. And we have ahead of us, according to me, modestly, the 3 main challenges is what could be the impact of the US-China big bargain. We are very confident about the discussion between Washington and Beijing. CMA CGM is 183 countries, 160,000 staff all over the planet. And on the top of the list for historical, geographical, business reasons, we have strategic countries, of course, and US and China. chairman had the privilege to have direct access to the Oval Office in Washington, but also to the top leadership in China. And we are confident about despite all the uncertainties, despite all the comments, but what could be the impact of the US-China big bargain? First challenge. The second challenge, still going on geopolitics, are we talking about globalization? It was, a word that we saw in the Anglo-Saxon press, but much more before the pandemics. This is something which is coming back in the comments by journalists, etc. Are we witnessing a globalization, or more realistically, more proactively, it is my conviction, are we witnessing the emergence of a new paradigm, of a new model of globalization? And third challenge, still on geopolitics, what is your outlook for the future big trade corridor east-west? The two final challenges are quite linked, you see what I mean? When we talk about globalization versus a new model of globalization, you talk about global south. You talk about where would be the source of consumption. When you see the growth of the middle class in China, I was mentioning China. China's middle classes are more important than all the European Union market by itself. In India, 100 million people belonging to middle class today. By 4 years, there will be 300 million, plus West Africa, plus Latin America. So, and if you add on top of that, the fact that the next battle will not be only at sea with vessels and maritime routes, but also on land with corridors, with logistics. At the end of the day, with a new vision which has taken place for CMA CGM since Rodolphe Saadé has become the chairman and CEO, we consider that anticipating is the best solution for anticipating contingency planning for our customer cares, because we are an industry, we are carrying containers, but we consider that containers carry far more than goods today. We consider that ports are no longer just trade infrastructures. We consider that shipping and logistics leverage, presence and negotiation. This is why to play with geopolitics is so important. And afterwards, as you say, decarbonisation. We are leader, we are pioneer on that. Can talk about that if you like, on LNG, methanol, and the bunkering of the future, which is a big conviction, a deep conviction from a chairman and embraced by all the staff, wherever in the world, and of course digitalisation.
We'll come on to decarbonisation and digitalisation in a second, if we may. But I mean, you raised a number of very, very interesting points there. And you talk about the growth of the middle class in China, you talk about India, you talk about South America, you talk about these new markets. Now, when you're looking at this new era, this new type of globalisation, how do you prepare for that? Because you need so much infrastructure around you. Is that then very much sort of being driven by the lines themselves? How can you make sure that you are going to be one step ahead of the curve as the whole trade patterns evolve and change?
You need a solid compass, and a very good crystal ball. More seriously, the compass is your network, and we have a very strong commercial network with all our agencies all over the planet. I'm just back from yesterday. I was still in South Korea. A few days before, we went to Middle East, Lebanon, Syria, also Damascus. So having such solid commercial network for our clients, for our customers, is very, very important. When you look at the compass, this is for that. And when I talk about network, of course, this is about, institutional networks, of course. Chairman is now received as direct access, as I told you, to the Oval Office, and to, maybe for the first semester of 25, he has already engaged, met with probably like a bit more than 30, 40 head of state or head of government. So to prepare that, you need to have very strong networks. That's for the compass, let's say. The crystal ball, this is political sense, contingency planning, and also innovation and disruption. To be able, to understand what is happening. What does it mean when you have the first military operation starting in Ukraine in February 2022? What does it mean for the business? You have some groups, Western groups in Europe or the US, which has decided to stay and to consider it as business as usual, not anticipating such tragic evolution in Europe. When you have the 7th of October, what does it mean for Middle East, but much beyond? What does it mean that a few days afterwards, 7th of October, terrorist attack, you have some military movements against Iranian officials, for instance? This is a weak signal, talking about October 2023, but for us, it was already a small signal, a signal faible, as we say in good French, to look about what if I was talking about contingency planning. What if we have problem with regional proxies? When you talk about regional proxies in Middle East, it could potentially mean the Houthis with the Red Sea. But talking mid-October 2023 about the Red Sea, could have looked, and I remember a discussion with my colleagues and even the other shipping lines, it was a bit sci-fi. Why Red Sea? Who are the Houthis, etc., etc. But for us, CMA CGM, it has been a way to anticipate and to see what it could mean in terms of disruption, in terms of services for our clients, in terms of military escort, with or without the support of the French, European, American vessels or not. This is that kind of anticipation. When I talk about a new vision which has taken shape, and also this is also what I'm with him. I have this chance, this privilege to accompany him in his travels and official visits around the world. And he say all the time when he asks what is the first challenge for industry, for shipping lines, for your industry, he starts by geopolitics, and not because I'm a diplomat working under his leadership. This is just by himself, and it's probably the reason why he has decided also to strengthen our network and put people like me, modestly, to embrace this new international situation. The world of the international relationship has become very transactional, and international trade has become highly political and highly sensitive. But nothing wrong on that. Nothing wrong on that. Just the necessity to play with agility and anticipation.
During London Shipping Week next week, we've got Donald Trump in London. He's coming in for a state visit, and trade will no doubt be, top and center of a lot of discussions next week, not only within LSW, but also as far as the US are concerned. You talk about anticipation, we've got the tariffs, and that they change by morning and night, depending on what the president is deciding to do. But you've got things like the Ukraine situation. You've then got the China-Taiwan situation. Now, there's a lot of anticipation that needs to be brought into that sort of strategic thinking. What are your thoughts as far as those two areas are concerned? And then maybe coming on to the tariffs, and then we'll go on to decarbonisation, because the China-Taiwan situation is potentially very, very difficult for the world economy if things escalate in a bad way in the future. And then you've still got this continuing Ukraine-Russia situation. What are your thoughts on how it's, with your crystal ball, how it's going to pan out?
No, I don't have the pretension that the crystal ball is efficient enough to tell you what to be tomorrow. But being confident, being ready to take risk, calculated risk also, because this is a game-changing attitude to accept that in this particular period of time, taking risk is also absorbing the fact that when you face a crisis or a demanding situation, it will be also an opportunity. That from the business point of view. But at strategic level, I have to say I'm a bit torn, because like you, I read, I hear, I met with many, many people, and I don't know if history is repeating or not. Because yes, you mentioned Ukraine, Middle East, Taiwan maybe, tariffs, etc. But no need to go backwards so far away, no need to go to the 19th century or the economic and political period of time between the two world wars in the 20th century. If you look at the 80s, if you look at, wars in core of Europe, in the Balkans, you mentioned my very first posting, in 95, Dayton Agreement. Srebrenica was qualified as a genocide by the International Court. So we have that, and we need to be careful about not being taken over by the ongoing situation, by decision taken by countries, by government, by officials on economic matters and all the ones, and to say, oh my gosh, we are just on the edge of something new, something. No, this is why I'm talking about, anticipation, but being able to anticipate the future with having still in mind the past. Once again, you see, if you don't want to be like a kite dancing in a hurricane, to mention a famous formula, you have to be really, really, sound deep to see the ground truth. This is why traveling and engaging is really, really important. And, I'm just telling you, I'm back from South Korea, and you mentioned tariffs, and you mentioned tariffs. I met some, private companies, of course, and giants in Korea, big company, very respectful, and officials also. Of course, they have problems with tariffs when Japan is able to fix a deal with US a bit before. That's what Korea will do. Will do very rapidly, you will see. So yes, this is challenging. 2 weeks ago, my teams were telling me, oh, look what is happening between Washington and Delhi. Rodolphe Saadé received early this year in Marseille, in our headquarters, south of France, Prime Minister of India. A few months later, the special envoy, his foreign minister, was again visiting us in Marseille because we have a strategic relationship with India. And 2 weeks ago, people were telling me, my own team, oh, wow, what is happening now between... Say, guys, calm down. Look exactly the history, the trends, dynamics, and you will see what will be fixed by Delhi and Washington. The same. End of last week, people are telling me, look, US-China, I mentioned among the big geopolitical challenges, is US-China big bargain. 2 days ago, the top leadership in Washington, State Department, Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, his colleague, Secretary of Defense, etc., talked to their Chinese counterparts. Now you will have the Treasury Secretary who will see his Chinese counterpart, I think, next week in Spain and Europe. So this is all good. You see what I mean? So when I mentioned compass and crystal ball, this is also a way to say, okay, we are dealing with strategic issues from a strategic industry. We have a portfolio at CMA CGM of more than 65,000 clients all over the planet. And this dedication and commitment to our clients, transport goods, containers, imposed to us to embrace the situation with seriousness, rigor, but also in a very calm and determined way.
Just touching on what you were saying earlier as well, you talked about digitalisation being part of all of that as well. And it'd be quite interesting to get your sort of views on how innovation, digitalisation is transforming the future of sort of shipping and logistics at CMA CGM. How you're investing in it.
Massive investment, because this is, we owe that to our clients. And this is because also one of the key commitments of our top leadership, of our chairman. And it goes from strategic partnerships, a bit like I described our approach about geopolitics. Strategic partnerships means we have strategic agreements with top world-class players. I could mention Google, Mistral AI. We have partnerships with them. This is fundamental. And this innovation, I was also mentioning disruption for research and development. When we decide to, by conviction, to embrace the challenge of climate change, when you're a top leader in your industry, it means that you have to break new boundaries. And when we decided, it was 13, 14 years ago, to put in place a budget for exploring LNG opportunities, and we arrived with the inauguration of our flagship vessel, the name of the founding father and father of Rodolphe Saadé, the Jacques Saadé, which is a flagship vessels, 22,000 TEU, propelled by LNG fuel, inaugurated in January 2021. We are talking about billions of investment. Go and to respect, tackle this challenge to be net zero by 2050. But this is just not a motto, this is a deep conviction. But it imposed was also to carry on, to work together with some key partners, key stakeholders, to go for new fuels, to explore new technologies, and to embrace also all the new technologies input from AI. The optimization of a route, especially when you have to pass by Good Hope, for instance, is a key game changer. It has a cost. I was mentioning decarbonisation, billions of dollars. It imposes us to, again, anticipation. When you want to go for methanol, you face, or even LNG, you have to face the question of the sourcing. Where do you go? You go to Savannah in the US, you go to China, you go to Qatar. You see what I mean? You go to Rotterdam in Europe, so you need partnerships with big champions. This is key. It is worth to have partnerships and to have this solid vision also. So decarbonization and innovation, at the end of the day, we could consider that are the two faces of the same back. You see what I mean? AI will be fundamental and is already fundamental for customer care, for e-booking, but also for our crew on board of our vessels, but also for our logistics department, for warehouses, for all our truckers, logistics, etc. And even when we put AI at our fleet center, which is really a class act piece of art here at the tower of CMA CGM headquarters in France, it's also used for our planes. You see what I mean? We are air cargo division. All that is about, optimization, anticipation, and cost savings and services.
I get very excited about AI and innovation. I think it's going to be revolutionary for the industry. The interesting thing about shipping is it is very fragmented. You've got leaders like yourself out there who's driving ahead. You're seeing the opportunity, you're seeing the investment opportunity, and then you've got other elements of the shipping industry who are lagging behind. We know that as far as digitalization is concerned. What is the knock-on effect of that? Because in an ideal world, you'd have the whole of the shipping industry all connected together, working seamlessly and efficiently together.
I think that 26, and this is why next week in London for the shipping week will be very interesting, because the tectonics are in movement. And I was mentioning the possibilities that history is repeating. Crisis, tariff war, etc., now. But when you look especially at the shipping lines, yes, in the financial crisis, 2008 and 9, we have had some kind of natural selection of the key players and, some different groups, etc. And innovation will be, and decarbonisation could become a real, game changer also. But if you deep dive, you go to intra-Asia. I'm not sure that all the little carriers are necessarily interested by decarbonization and the clients is okay for that. Innovation, for us, it will be a game changer. For us, if we want to be at the top, and we're number 3, we're now, by next year in terms of capacity, we're number 2, and good for us, but it imposes to take the lead all the time and to be pioneer. You see what I mean? But I think there's space, and once again, when you look at some markets and rates and some companies, medium, big, small, there's space for everybody. But the key point is also, again, to know what is your business plan, to know your clients, to know your geography, to know your history. Simply, once again, anticipation and contingency planning. And I see very small carriers doing very, very well in Middle East or in Asia.
Well, I want to come on just finally really looking at the UK and the relationship of CMA CGM with the UK. We've had the Brexit situation. We've known all about that. With London International Shipping Week, the whole shipping industry, global shipping industry is coming in, and it's about not only the UK showcasing itself globally, but it's also about the global shipping industry discussing and debating big key issues. And that's the whole point about it. Could you talk a little bit about, just finally really looking at your relationship with the UK ahead of LISW next week? There's going to be a lot happening there. How you see that sort of developing, what the opportunities are, and the challenges maybe that have been thrown up as a result of
historically UK for shipping, but UK more importantly for CMA CGM has always been a strategic country. And those days visiting very, very regularly London and having access also to all the leadership of the United Kingdom. He was at the state visit this summer with President Macron. He was at Windsor and he was sitting on the side of the Prime Minister. So all that not by accident, because we have a very solid strategic relationship with London. But short story long, there is no love. There is only proof of love. You mentioned Brexit. In 2022, we consider that story was not over, far from it. And with Rodolphe went to London and we informed the authorities, the British government, that we have decided to relocate it, our regional office for Europe, from Germany to London. You can imagine, from a French diplomat, it was a time which was a bit, bumpy road between Paris and London. But anticipation, once again. A few months later, there was the Reset Summit, remember, between the two governments. And on both sides of the channel, everybody was happy to have some captain of industries, especially strategic companies like us, having anticipated that beyond politics, there are history and geography and business and economy and trade. You see what I mean? So all that to tell you that we are, again, in a very solid and strong strategic relationship with London and UK. We want to be confident, and this is why we have decided strategic investments, especially on logistics so far, with big intermodal and infrastructures and warehouses in the north, in East Midlands or around London. And we have services, short sea, long sea, regarding shipping. No, very, very good relationship with UK for us since the very beginning, despite the ups and downs. For us, there was only ups. And once again, this strategic decision to move to London at a time where it was a bit shaky with Brussels, with the EU, with the etc., we decided to anticipate a better future, and apparently we are totally right.
And do you see more of that sort of happening in the future as well, as far as CMA CGM is concerned?
You see.
Well, we obviously we got London Shipping Week next week, and we're looking forward to seeing you. What are you looking forward to most during the week? It's going to be a busy time.
Yes, and to see old friends, new members, new stakeholders, it would be very interesting beyond the usual business, because this is good to have this regularity of big international rendezvous in London, especially, but also to see the reactions, the concerns, or the confidence of my interlocutors, business, private companies, officials, not only British, because this is international once again, especially 24, 48 hours ahead of the state visit of President Trump. Very interesting, and the week before the General Assembly of the United Nations. So I think this year, especially London Shipping Week, is very appealing and attractive because of the brainstorming and absorbing and anticipating the dynamics and trends for next year.
I must say, just finally, the one thing that really sort of fired me up 2 years ago for London Shipping Week was the involvement of the French government in LISW, the flag, and they came on board, and it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I sort of put that as a massive high point for LISW, and it's continued in 2025. I mean, I've been in maritime media for 40 years. I was political editor on Lloyd's List 20 years ago.
Excellent.
And I know the strength of shipping in France, and it's
Yes.
so good to see it being told to the world.
I love it. And I think that you mentioned at the beginning of the interview that there is this event at the French embassy on Monday evening.
Yeah, exactly.
With the British flag, etc. We have UK flag on our vessels. It has been one of the consequences of strategic move. So, and to be very, very good, 3-4 years later after the decision by Rodolphe to go further, bigger to London, to have these two flags, the French and British flag. I love it. Maybe also because now I have to tell you, I'm biased, of course, because, nobody's perfect. My wife is English.
Oh, excellent. Patrice, thank you very much indeed for your time today.
Thank you.
It's lovely talking to you. It was an honour to talk to you, and certainly to get your viewpoints on a lot of these key issues. Looking forward to, and I will bump into you next week. I'm going to be there on Monday night as well. So,
with great pleasure. With great pleasure. Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.